Cosmic Awakening, 1991. Peru, Journey into the Unknown. Sacred Valley of the Incas. By Makāula Nakae. April 24, 1991. Visions. Episode 11. The Ancient Civilizations Described by the Cosmic Consciousness Ja-Zeawa. Waking up felt no different from any other day, and I found it strange that I didn't even need an alarm clock. Lying in bed pondering the day's schedule ahead, my sense of time, including the feeling of dates, and even my sense of self, felt completely unreal, like a waking dream, as if my mind wasn't operating properly yet. With a supreme effort, I stepped out of the room, and the moment my skin touched the strong morning sunlight, the world felt as though it had abruptly begun to move. Along with breakfast at the restaurant, I enjoyed mate de coca, strong coffee mixed with coca tea. I believe the aroma and flavor of coffee always supply enough energy to clear away the lingering fog in a body and mind that aren't fully awake. That day, the small white church in the courtyard of the restaurant was reserved for a workshop featuring Ja-Zeawa, channeled by Edward, lasting almost the entire day. Edward and Hoshena sat side by side behind a table, holding a small cup, a pitcher of water, and recording equipment. This marked the beginning of my first-hand experience witnessing and hearing channeling. Having read numerous books on channeling in Japan and possessing basic knowledge, I recall feeling neither particularly nervous nor excited. Instead, I was utterly captivated by the paintings and ornaments inside the church where the channeling took place and by the exquisite light streaming in from outside. Amidst the theatrical effect of the beautiful light pouring in from behind Edward, he looked as though he stood at the center of a solemn world. He spoke for only a short moment before slipping smoothly into a trance state. Soon, as Ja-Zeawa entered his physical body, the chair shook heavily as Edward readjusted his posture and began to speak quietly. The general gist of Ja-Zeawa's message was that in order to absorb as much as possible from this journey, we must temporarily forget our lives back in Japan and focus our entire consciousness completely on the now, to experience the extraordinary far removed from the everyday. And through that process, to keep aligning all of consciousness with each passing moment. That everyone has walked this land in the past, and that we were now returning in this lifetime to visit the land we once walked long ago. That the energy contained within this land activates the history of the soul innate within each individual. The energy of this land works upon every single cell of an individual moment by moment, activating their personal healing energy and inner awareness. Ja-Zeawa then proceeded to speak calmly about the hidden history of Peru and the great floods of the ancient Atlantean and Lemurian eras. The survivors of those two ancient great civilizations scattered across the globe alongside prophets, reviving civilization in diverse locations such as Egypt and Mexico. The place where they washed ashore had not yet risen from the sea and was still a collection of islands. These survivors of Atlantis and Mu called this land the Land of Oz. At the confluence where the technologically advanced Atlantis and the lifestyle of harmony with nature, established by Mu met, they constructed repositories, much like the pyramids of the Yucatan or Egypt, to preserve the wisdom of their respective civilizations for future generations. They built these repositories deep within the mountains, linked by a network of connecting tunnels. As time passed, even now those legacies awaited discovery by humankind. Eventually, as eras rolled on, because there were too few surviving individuals, passing down the wisdom of their civilization proved too difficult, and it gradually faded into oblivion. Then, thousands of years later, a man known as a living god arrived from the star realms to revive the light unwisdom of the ancient people and bring it to humankind, becoming the founder of the first Inca civilization. He taught the people the healing properties inherent in this land and instructed a select few on the existence of the repositories built during the Oz era and the network connecting them, thus bridging the civilization. The existing temples and stone pathways, constructed using countless megaliths, utilized the technologies of past civilizations preserved within the repositories, which eventually became legends as the magic of the Inca civilization. The Spanish invaders sent by the Vatican felt threatened by the civilization and technology of this land, and those wisdoms and technologies survived in modest obscurity until the moment they destroyed everything. However, following the wholesale slaughter by the invaders, that wisdom was sealed away once more within the repositories, and the individuals holding the keys perished. Back then, many people and journalists supported the hidden history of Earth through books and lectures, proposing the theory of planetary civilization founding by extraterrestrials. Given that context, I felt Ja-Zeawa's message wasn't particularly shocking. Moreover, Peru as a land genuinely seemed to possess an endless supply of UFO anecdotes. For some reason, I accepted the narrative quite smoothly. The reason was that, considering the UFO sightings I had experienced up to that point, it felt entirely natural. Aura sightings once again and vivid visionary experiences. While listening to the unfolding narrative of Ja-Zeawa's ancient history, I looked at both Ja-Zeawa, speaking through Edward's physical body, and Hoshina sitting beside him. Both of them appeared wrapped in a golden light. Shifting my gaze toward Tadashi, I saw that his body was similarly shimmering with golden light, which seemed to stretch out toward the light surrounding Edward and Hoshina. The glow of the golden aura enveloping them was indescribably beautiful, shimmering so brightly that their physical outlines were barely visible in places. Having experienced it the day before, I was able to calmly observe the scene of individuals bathed in a solemn golden light for quite a long time. Shifting my gaze to the window on a whim, I spotted a wild squirrel running across the top of a wall. Keeping my eyes open caused my awareness to scatter in various directions, making it difficult to maintain concentration. Thus, I decided to close my eyes and focus my attention exclusively on Ja-Zeawa's voice. After a short while, the next bizarre phenomenon occurred. In the pitch-black darkness before my eyes, a gleaming golden pyramid appeared with crystal clarity. My viewpoint hung diagonally in front of the pyramid, displaying two sides in the center of my field of vision, and I could discern even the tiniest details of every single stacked golden block. The visibility was abnormally three-dimensional, possessing an overwhelming sense of physical presence. Feeling as though I had been bewitched, I stared at it for a while. Overwhelmed by that strangeness, I opened my eyes and focused my awareness back inside the room. There, the scene remained unchanged. Ja-Zeawa continued speaking, and the people listened intently, exactly as before. Gazing blankly out the window for a while, I pondered what had just happened. It felt vaguely pleasant, but my thoughts refused to cohere. Closing my eyes once more, the same pyramid still floated within the darkness of my eyelids. Suddenly, that image shifted into a slightly elongated trapezoidal door, glowing with golden light. This vision, too, was rendered with uncanny realism down to the finest details. Near the middle of the right edge, I noticed a small trapezoidal plate, and focusing my awareness upon it, I understood instinctively, for no logical reason, that it was a keyhole. Then, like a scene changing in a movie, the trapezoidal door vanished abruptly, replaced by a new image. A small, round golden disc with roughly 15 or 16 elongated, needle-like rods attached, pointing inward toward the disc's center. It was shaped like the symbol of the sun. As I watched those rods lengthen and shorten toward the center, I understood that the object was a key. I hadn't the faintest idea what any of it meant, but I found the strangeness of it fascinating. Thinking to myself, so this is what a vision is, I basked in the lingering afterglow of being able to witness such vivid, nearly nonsensical yet mysterious visions. Despite being severely nearsighted, where everything looked blurred without glasses or contact lenses and astigmatism made everything double, the visual clarity of the vision was absolute ascension. While the objects perceived behind closed eyes possessed tangible presence, the phenomenon of seeing them lacked the hard reality of yesterday's events. Perhaps because it arrived so abruptly, it carried neither tension or awkwardness. It simply felt vaguely pleasant. When I refocused my awareness back onto Ja-Zeawa's talk, I realized I had missed the preceding flow and couldn't follow along. While listening in confusion, the talk reached a natural stopping point and transitioned into a break. During the time I had slipped away into a visionary realm and witnessed nonsensical, mysterious imagery, I had missed the contents of Ja-Zeawa's workshop inside the church entirely. I could barely catch any of what Ja-Zeawa had been saying, but since Tadashi was recording it on video, I was able to watch it leisurely after returning to Japan. During the break, I passed the time admiring the paintings and sculptures inside the church. The majority of part 2 of Ja-Zeawa's session consisted of guided meditation. Since I was unaccustomed to it, keeping up with the guidance was all I could manage, leaving me zero bandwidth to experience visions like the one before. At the beginning of the guided meditation, Ja-Zeawa described the tour we were participating in as a journey of self-discovery, reclaiming the wisdom residing within one's own inner self and discovering the self. One does not need to look anywhere outside the self in order to discover the self. Every single person can discover all the answers entirely from within themselves, acting according to one's inner guidance, and acting in accordance with universal guidance. Normally, we attempt to seek the answers to everything outside ourselves. Yet that puts the cart before the horse. In reality, all answers are already inherent within us. If we seek answers within ourselves, insights and replies come forth from our inner landscape. Most people simply do not yet know how to do this. Once spiritual growth begins and one learns to successfully access the inner self, communication with a different reality initiates from that point onward. As inner perception develops, the balance with the external world evolves in a new shape, constructed in a new way, remaining constantly with oneself, living without seeking answers outside, focusing instead on listening inward. Doing so brings answers welling up from within, like recalling a memory in the form of a realization. At lunch, I shared a table with nearly the exact same group as the day before. The table conversations centered on how we could return to the salt mines once more. Considering our remaining days, I felt today would be the best choice, but Saki didn't seem terribly keen. Eventually, unable to reach a decision, Naoko suggested, "Why don't we use O-rings to decide?" Having never heard the term O-ring before, I had to have the entire concept explained to me. The O-ring test, Digital O-ring test, or BDORT, is a method utilized as part of alternative medicine and holistic health diagnostics. Devised in the 1960s by a Japanese physician named Yoshiaki Omura, referred to here as Masami Baba in translation, it is frequently used to assess bodily energy and health status, evaluating how specific substances or environments impact the physical body. The subject stands or sits in a relaxed state. The practitioner uses one of the subject's hands. The subject forms a ring using their thumb and another finger, typically the index or middle finger. This ring is called the O-ring. The practitioner places a specific substance, tool, food, supplement, medicine, or mineral into the subject's opposite hand. The practitioner attempts to pull apart the subject's O-ring to check the strength and durability of the ring. If the O-ring breaks apart easily, the substance is interpreted as exerting a negative influence on the subject. Conversely, if the O-ring remains tightly closed, it is deemed to have a positive influence. Thus, possessing zero knowledge or experience regarding O-rings ended up becoming the test subject. Out of my sight, I wrote the dates the 24th and the 26th separately on 2 small slips of paper. With my eyes closed, I was instructed to press the slips one by one between my thumb and index finger, pinching them together as firmly as possible. Saki used both hands to pull my fingers apart with all her might. Easier separation indicated a mismatch, while remaining locked indicated a match. When the energy flowing through both fingers reacted positively to the object held between them, the adhesion strengthened. When reacting negatively, it weakened. The result pointed to the 24th. Trusting that information, we had Alexa arrange a car for us, deciding to head out to the salt mines once again in the evening. Following lunch, Ja-Zeawa's session resumed in a different location. Thoughts are entirely energy, and simultaneously, all energy can also be thought. Ja-Zeawa showed us how we can heal ourselves and the world by utilizing those thoughts. Depending on how we choose and utilize thoughts, which are energy, their mode of operation differs. Furthermore, healing is not merely about fixing broken or bad situations. Even favorable situations can be transformed into something still more positive. Ja-Zeawa conveyed that by learning how to utilize the energy of thought, we human beings can change myriad things. Afterward, guided by their voice, we performed a meditation focused on healing. At the very conclusion of the session, Ja-Zeawa made a startling statement. Starting today, for the next 7 days, a mothership from the Pleiades is coming to this land. Hearing that, a murmur rippled through us. A Pleiades mothership is arriving, meaning that for the next week, a Pleiades mothership would be lingering in this vicinity. Hearing this unexpected information, far from feeling doubt, because we had witnessed UFOs continuously up to that point, everything suddenly made sense. That must have been the reason why, I thought. As conversation proceeded alongside Edward, who had returned from his trance state, the topic shifted once again to the arrival of the Pleiades mothership. And the latter half of the session revolved around UFOs from start to finish. Ja-Zeawa explained that when they provide such information, those spacecraft frequently appear to specific groups, while knowing of that group's existence. They sometimes deliberately prompt spacecraft sightings to catalyze the activation of consciousness. However, if one's inner ego pushes with a desperate desire to witness a craft, the chance vanishes entirely. Even if another person spots a spacecraft at the exact same spot, someone driven by ego will inevitably end up looking downward or missing it somehow through sheer inevitability. Amidst those developments, we felt quite anxious about our schedule heading to the Mara salt mines. Following the session, the group split into two factions, those wanting to visit the lake and those wanting to go to the salt mines. The majority of the group chose the lake. The salt mines faction numbered fewer than 10 people. Boarding a small light van, we departed near twilight, following shortly behind the lake group. To be continued. Watch and listen. Watch the cinematic video trailer. Listen to the full podcast now. Explore the archive Cosmic Awakening Volume 1, 1991, Peru, Journey into the Unknown. Sacred Valley of the Incas. Volume 2, Ascension 2012, The Golden Alchemy. Part 3, The First Contact. Join the journey. New episodes drop periodically. Each chapter delivers a tight, hyper-focused 10 to 30-minute hit of real-life experiences, perfect for your daily plunge into consciousness exploration. Subscribe to support your inner development. Thumbs up to help push our channel through the algorithm. Comment below. Share your thoughts on today's episode.